Welcome to the Camp Randall Platoon podcast. I'm James White along with Warren Herring, Sojourn, Shelton, and we got a special guest, one of our former teammates, Vince Biegel,
VB.
joining the pod.
Yes,
sir. How you doing, Vince? We got to catch up with you a couple weeks ago at the Ohio State game, so it was good to see you. What you been up to, man?
You guys, I first want to say thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to see all you guys. It was nice seeing you guys a couple weeks ago at Camp Randall, chopping it up. I mean, shit, for some of us, it's been a few years since we've seen each other. We're husbands now. A lot of us are fathers now. So it's cool to kind of be back in Camp Randall with different titles, but still the same us and kind of picked up right where we left off.
Yeah, man, most definitely. And, you know, the topic of discussion is obviously Badger football. We had a rough weekend against Indiana. We'll dive into that a little bit later, but I wanted to check in with you guys. I'm sure you guys have been tuned into college football all year long. And it's kind of been one of those years, not just one team stepping out in front of the other where you can just say, oh, Alabama's going to be in the national championship, Ohio State's going to be in it. It's really a toss-up out there, so I wanted to get all you guys' opinion of who you think is the best team in the country right now.
I'm gonna either go with either. It's between Michigan or Ohio State, and the only reason why I'm kind of hesitant on Michigan is because there's a lot of stuff going on right now around that program. But Ohio State just looked like, honestly, you know, just being a fan of college football, they just look like they're rolling. It's gonna be real hard to stop, 18, man. He's getting into that form, into that gear in a part of the year where he just looks unstoppable. Him and the quarterback, they're playing well, so. Obviously, with Michigan having to play Penn State soon, and then obviously getting the game at the end of the year, it's gonna be interesting to see how everything forms out.
Yeah, we gonna find out about Michigan for sure this week, I think. So what about you, Warren Biegel?
Stuff about to get real. You know what? I'm gonna go. I like Michigan. I think Michigan is the best right now. Obviously, we got to see what's going on with all this turmoil, and I think I saw a couple of them at the game. You did
see them at the Badger game.
We don't know if they were imposters, but
I'm gonna be honest with you. They got they're undefeated. Yeah, I think it might be Washington. Washington's up there too, man. They look really good. Now, obviously, you give up a lot of points in the Pac-12, but you got to score a lot of points. And them boys, they look good now. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what they do toward the back end of the year. Obviously, they got a couple more big games coming up, and then they conference championship too. So we'll see what happens.
About you, Biegel?
I think not just because we're on the Big Ten podcast, but I think that the Big Ten overall has been one of the strongest conferences in college football. The SEC is proving that's not as strong as it has been in years past. The big one being Alabama. Pac-12, like Warren said, you got to score a lot of points. I've seen there's kind of a lot of inconsistency, but the two most consistent teams that I've really seen this year have been Ohio State and Michigan. And I think that Michigan is going to be a team that's going to be tough to beat. I'm going to have to go with Michigan just because I think they got such good coaching. They got good players. They got veteran players. And, man, they got a dude in the shadows named strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
Coach Herb.
Coach Herb. Yeah.
Offense with me, defense with you.
No, it was with me. Do what you mean.
Do what you mean.
How many you got Herb for a little bit?
Oh yeah, we got Herb for 1 year. I got Herb for 1 year, and that changed my life that 1 year.
I hear stories, man.
Bro, that gaze, bro. When you walk in, and he just
right. I think you guys
gonna get you right, boy.
I think just Michigan has got so many weapons. They got the great staff. I think just kind of they have the trajectory to be able to represent the Big Ten well. We'll see if they can beat Ohio State.
Great opposing team scouts too.
Yeah. For me,
just playing. No shit.
It's tough. I like Ohio State. I like Michigan. I like Washington too. But I might go with Florida State. Florida State. They got some ball players over there. It's been a while since they've been in like the college football playoff type rankings and things like that. They got a good quarterback, some big receivers. They got a good running back. They got a solid
Coleman,
defense.
Good.
They got some dudes over there. I think this is the best Florida State team we've seen in quite some time. They beat Clemson, they beat Duke, they beat a couple good football teams. So that's what I like about Ohio State too. They've been tested a little bit and they won some football games. we tested them some. We had opportunities to win that football game, but they do what they do. You can stay with them for 3 quarters, and all of a sudden they go on a 20-point run.
I know. I just don't know if their offense gonna be able to hold up, bro. Their quarterback is still sketchy to me, dog.
Yeah.
He ain't proved it to me yet.
Where does Georgia fall in that line with you guys? Because Georgia right now, I think they're 9-0. Mm-hmm. They're looking. They're probably the team to beat in the SEC. Where do you think, Georgia fits in all that?
I mean, obviously, back-to-back national champions. Like you got to put them at the top, right? But I just in recent years of how they've been playing, like how their teams was formed, they look totally different. And then I don't know how long the tight end Bowers is gonna be out. Like he's the key piece. If he's out for a couple more weeks, heading into the SEC championship, that type of stuff, like that's gonna truly affect them. So I mean, you gotta give them, like, I seen the college football playoffs rankings last week. They had them ranked like 2 behind Ohio State. I disagree just because, I mean, they're undefeated. They're, 2-time national champ, back-to-back national champs. Like, I feel like they should be one until proven otherwise. But it's going to be a hard team to beat, right? Especially getting into those big games. Like, if you make the playoffs, some of these teams that are in that conversation hasn't been in that spot in so long, right? Like, obviously, I don't remember the last time Ohio State made the playoffs, but it's probably been some time. Michigan, obviously.
They made it last year. Ohio State made
okay,
it last year.
So they did. They did. They actually played. They played Georgia. But Michigan, obviously, they made it. But just between Washington and Florida State, like it's been a while since those teams have been into those big games, and we know getting into that playoff game, it's a lot more pressure than just a week 7, week 8 game. So it's gonna be interesting to see, man. Like I said last week on the podcast, this is my favorite time of the year because a lot of stuff just start unraveling, teams start losing, and you lose at this point in your season, it could really mess up and blow everything, right? So it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, we're going to find out a lot about a lot of teams over these next 3-4 weeks, championship games. But for Georgia, you definitely can't count them out. They've been there, well coached. They got plenty of talent. We'll see about them when they get to the SEC championship if they face, Alabama. Alabama's always going to be a tough out, so they'll be tested at that point, and then we kind of go from there. So, but now let's get to the X's and O's. So last week, or this on Saturday, not even last week, just a few days ago, we lose 20-14 to Indiana on the road. We talked about a little bit. You play Ohio State, you play a night game, the atmosphere is there, you're up, you're ready to go. It's not hard to get up for that type of game. You go on the road after that, Indiana, they're not playing for much. We're still in contention to go, fight for the Big Ten West, potentially be in the Big Ten championship, and we came out flat. Simple as that.
Yeah,
Simple as that. And that team, we know they're maybe not an overall good football team, but they always have good football players over there. If you give them some life, they take advantage, and that's exactly what happened to us on Saturday. It was rough. I mean, I'm gonna start with the offense first. Braden Locke, 21 for 41, 243 yards, 2 TDs. The stats don't really tell the whole story because he did not look great out there on Saturday. He had some errant throws, missed a couple, 4th down passes. That was probably the roughest performance for him so far in his 2 starts. I think the offensive line, the protection, I thought it was decent. It's some of the most decent protection we had all year long. He had time. He was sitting there for like 4 or 5 seconds. Receivers not getting open, or he's not reading it right. Whatever it may be, it just wasn't there. I just felt like the offense really sleepwalked through the whole game. I know you're missing Braylon. You're missing DK, 2 really good football players. I just think it was still a game that we should have won. Maybe not by 21 points or anything like that, but a game that we just had to get, man. That's just one of those bounce back games for us and just a missed opportunity. I don't know what you guys think about it.
I think it's one of those things, man. Like, and you're right. Like, it was definitely a game that we should have won. I just think that, again, we talk about it all year, about starting slow. Like, this is one of those games that, again, it's one of those games that you can't come to sleep on. We talked about how explosive Indiana can be. Now, history, like, we've blown Indiana out. You know what I'm saying? But we have a new team. Gotta talk about that. We do have a new team. Got a lot of new guys in new spots and things like that. But this is an opportunity for guys to step up, get some experience, and have a field day. But it was one of those things again where, you know, you can't sleep on a team like this, especially now late in the season. They have something they want to prove. You know, you got is a new head coach. Is this the head coach's first year?
No, he been there for some years, but
he been there for some years. Or excuse me, my bad. But I mean, it's just, you know, you gotta play fast, man. And with this late in the season, like, we have to do a lot better of getting going from the beginning to the end. We haven't put together a full game yet, so we don't know what that looks like. So it's just, now having Braylon out, guys got to be able to step up. We always talk about the next man up mentality. We haven't seen the next man up yet. So who's going to take, you know, their opportunity to step out, especially against a team like this? You know, no, Indiana played a good game and, you know, played the way they can play, but we didn't play our best game.
Yeah, and I'm on the same thing with Warren. I mean, and what's crazy, James, is you're right. Like, if you look at the stats, like, we rushed for 100 yards. We threw for over 200 yards. You know, we had two touchdown passes thrown. I just think of, like, obviously, you know, when you look at how big third down is, and, you know, us going for it 3 times on fourth down and not getting any of them, like, those little details and things is what can make or break a game, right? Mm-hmm. And it's honestly, it's kind of frustrating because when you look at how we're playing, like, it's a totally different look, right? Like, I'm watching the game, and, you know, I'm used to, you know, certain situations being, you know, 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 2, and us, you know, putting the big boys out there and getting it in. We're coming out and it's literally spread offense, right? So you, at that point, you kind of take away what you know is gonna come, especially with, you know, Braylon being out. It's to the point now where I'm sure a lot of teams are knowing, like, okay, I mean, do you trust your running back to go out there and get those 3 tough yards? So you know the pass is coming. So a lot of things are truly different. And Big, I seen a tweet that you tweeted, you know, this past week was, you know, trust the process, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that, you know, as us as being, you know, former players and really diehard fans, like, we love this, we love our school. Like, we got to kind of just get used into understanding that it is a process, but we got to understand that it's going to look totally different than how we're normally used to seeing it.
I think, like, we are all used to Wisconsin being the same blood, right? Brett, Gary was different blood, but then obviously Paul coming back. We're used to Wisconsin looking a certain way. And this is a totally different, you know, club who's bringing their own spiel in. Looking at the game individually, Wisconsin outrushed them. We outpassed them. We beat them in total yardage. But whenever I'm looking at a game, it's that turnover battle is the key.
For sure.
Yeah. And what happened in the game? Wisconsin lost 2-0. Yeah. It's hard to win football games when you don't take care of the ball. And, like, I always had this thought in my mind was, a running back coach in the NFL was, you know, ball security is job security.
Yep, for sure.
And when you take care of the football, it's going to allow you to win games. And you lose more games than you actually win. And I think Wisconsin, that was a game where we lost that game. Yeah. It wasn't because Indiana did anything special.
Right, right.
It was we lost that game. I would also say, going into the season, what did Wisconsin's like, I hope that 3 guys don't get hurt. Our quarterback, Brayden Allen, and our backup running back, our 3 best offensive players. And what are we playing with? We weren't playing with any of them.
Yeah.
So I think it's a culmination of us beating ourselves, hurt players, and really a change in the system. So that's why I said, you know, trust the process. This is a game we should have won and we didn't win, but this is a year that it's going to be a transition year.
Yes.
What Prom say? Get us now.
Get us now, yeah. Get us the worst we gonna be. Get us now.
The worst we gonna be.
But offensively, the turnovers has been a thing all year long. I think we've only had one game where we haven't turned the football over the entire season. So that's been a problem, and we're already not really in a rhythm. You have, you know, 2, maybe 3 good drives per game. You know, if that, then you add 2 turnovers into it every single week or a turnover every week. It's really hard to find a rhythm. I know, you know, Tanner's out, backup quarterback, 3rd team running back. I just thought, like, for this week, like, guys should have been really chomping at the bit for that opportunity. I mean, whatever, Acker running back or Yakamela, he started to get it going a little bit and then ended up having a fumble. He was starting to get in the rhythm, and we fumbled the football, so it's kind of more of the same. But I definitely trust the process. I believe in what they're doing there with Fickle. I think he's a heck of a coach. He's the right guy for the job. I said, And with all that being said, we still have an opportunity to still make it to the Big Ten championship. No, with all the bad things that are going on, we need Iowa to lose a couple games or whatever it may be. But I mean, the opportunity is still there. You just got to find a way to get better.
James, can I touch on a point, James?
Yeah.
We were talking about the offense turning the ball over twice, but Indiana didn't have any turnovers. Our defense created 0 turnovers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you're a defense and you're playing with the backup quarterback, you're playing with a third string running back, what are you talking about in those meetings leading up to that game? Turnovers. We need turnovers.
For sure.
So we can sit here and beat the offense to a pulp, but I'm looking at a healthy defense saying, hey, we need you guys.
Yep.
Yeah. I was just saying, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't generate a ton of pressure either, though.
No.
Nah, we didn't. I mean,
this was a game. This was a game to get to go eat.
It was though, Warren, but I think also looking back at it, like the quarterback, he made some plays.
He made some great plays.
He made some great plays. He made some there's a couple possessions where we kind of was the pocket was collapsing and he stepped up and he made a throw here, or he ended up scrambling and getting some yards. Like it was one of those games, right? Like you said, as a defense as a whole, we should have been looking at the chomps and we should have been trying to find ways to create turnovers. But I gotta give the quarterback credit. I mean,
you gotta give him credit for sure.
He made some good plays with
that
his
first
legs.
drive, that opening drive.
Yeah, it
was
was
thing. Definitely gotta give it to him for sure.
And that's what they
and
did.
their receivers were not that the receivers made a lot of the receivers made some good plays. Obviously, the touchdown, in the corner, that was an excellent
one-handed catch.
One-handed catch.
Was it
as a coordinator or as a player, like you kind of got to live with that, right? Like that's a play that he just made. But some of the other things, I mean, we could have been a little bit more tighter in coverage, and like Vince said, we can't put all the pressure on the O, but I do feel like our defense played a good enough game for us to win.
100%.
But it would have helped out a lot more if we were able to cause any type of pressure or turnover.
Yeah, we could.
I was just gonna say because they only scored 2 touchdowns. The other one was field goals.
Yeah, defense did a decent job. They had 10 points in the first half, and then obviously it was a slow start defensively. But the second half they only got 3 points. Offensively, we went out, scored on our first possession in the second half. Then that was it. There's just no rhythm. I thought the defense did a decent job of accepting the challenge, realizing our offense is struggling a little bit. Second half, you only give up 3 points. They really didn't do much of anything in the second half. I just think. Just got the cliche saying complimentary football, your defense going out there getting stops. Offense, you got to find a way to move the ball. I thought offensively we ran too many swing screens. We ran that probably like 10 times. And it worked probably like 2 or 3 times. And then I know he was trying to set up the little fake swing, throw the ball down the field. By that time, I know their defensive coordinator like, watch for the fake screen, the little pop passes coming. They were all over it. So I just think the receivers, we got so much talent in that receiver room. You see flashes of it. Every now and then Bryson Green on a little under route, he goes for 59 yards, whatever it is. Will Paulin, he's been Mr. Third Down for us. That's who the quarterback looks for every single third down. He seems like he's the only one who really embraces that situation and is trying to get open in that situation, or that's just the only guy he trusts in that situation to get open. I just need to see more from those guys. There's just too much talent in that room, and I said, hopefully a lot of these guys will be back next year and they can really get in the rhythm, build chemistry. Because I'm excited. Like it's air raid, all that. I know it hasn't looked like it so far, but maybe it's gonna take maybe not this year. Maybe it's gonna take another spring, and then roll into training camp, and then they come out, and then you start seeing that vertical passing game along with the running game. I said the potential is definitely there. You definitely see the flashes in it, but you got to give credit to Indiana though. They weren't playing for anything. Caught us on one of those days, and they jumped out fast and they held on to it because they're not a good second half football team, which they weren't again. But they let us score 1 touchdown, and that was it. They got their 3, and they were able to close it out. This is that situational football we talk about in New England all the time, like 2-minute red zone, all that. They played good in those situations. They didn't have all the crazy numbers, but when it came down to getting a strip sack against our quarterback or knocking the ball out of our running back's hands, they did that. So you got to give them a
linebacker
bunch
went
of credit.
crazy.
Yeah,
he was pretty good.
Man, Casey, that boy went crazy.
You go ahead, Vince. You look like
No. James, we kind of came from the Patriot way because Brian Flores came to Miami. So everything you're saying, complimentary ball, it's hitting all the old memories here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, It's funny, but it's just key, man. Statistically, sometimes the stats don't tell the whole story. You just play right.
And I think to add salt in the wound back this last Saturday game is, Indiana had about all of 100 fans sitting in the stands.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just salt in the wound at that point where it's like, dang, oh man, But I think Badger fans they're used to seeing a winning product. And now they're seeing the Badger talking about Badger hockey. Badger hockey's turning it all around. They're being top 10 teams.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, those are 20-man rosters, right? You can turn a program around pretty quick. When you got a 100-man roster and a college football team, there's a process involved. Mm-hmm. And it's getting the recruits in, it's getting the guys who might not fit the system out, and then it's that whole process that it takes, like you said, James, it could take a couple of years for this to kind of transpire.
Yeah,
I agree with what Vince is saying, because you look at it, right? Will comes from that system, right? And that's who is having the most, as far as the pass game, he's the one who's having the most success. So it's I don't know. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if we have any other transfers that's come from that system or have followed, Coach
offensive lineman.
Yeah, offensive lineman.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So offensive lineman, but as far as the skill group, Will is from that system, and then we even date back to what we were saying with Braylon. Braylon is downhill, get him the ball downhill. Ches was more, get him in space, get him on the edge, get him in. So we're seeing certain players fit. You know what I'm saying? What they're trying to do. And I think, Braylon is obviously the type of player that you have to, he's a figured out player. Even if he don't fit our system, we got to figure out what ways that we can put him in a position to win. But I think now it's more of a, guys like Vince said, guys coming in, Coach Fickle's guys that he feels fits, his system and how his offense needs to be run. I think once he gets that recruiting class in, and then you also give those guys some time to develop, then we'll really see what the finish and final product will be.
Most definitely.
Does Brandon Allen have one more year of eligibility left?
Yep. He's only a junior. True junior, I believe. So hopefully.
Now, I'm curious to know, if you were Braylon Allen's dad, what are you telling him to do?
We had this go.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation, but most college football teams, they're doing exactly what we're doing. Shotgun, run the football. So it's just something you kind of got to embrace. He's a Wisconsin kid, I'm sure. I know he pandered it or thought about it a little bit, getting out of Wisconsin last year. Maybe the question gets raised again. Somebody throw some NIL money out in front of him. You never know what may happen. But I think, and he has the potential of going to the draft as well. I'm sure he'll figure out what that looks like. But I hope he comes back, because I want to see a bunch of these guys return again under the system, for the second time. And obviously, I think they're all probably unsatisfied with the way they're performing this year, and they want to go out with a bang, I'm sure, for a senior season. But now let's get into the scout report. So we played Northwestern this week. I'm sure we've had some. I never had really close battles with Northwestern. Shout out to Joey. Y'all been in a few little dogfights with them, especially on the road. But we played them at home this year. They're a 4-5 football team. They lost to Iowa last week, 10-7. So they played them really closely, just kind of similar to how we played them. They scored in the fourth quarter, had the potential, of possibly winning that football game. Iowa drove down, kicked the game-winning field goal. That's just the way, Iowa plays. Offense isn't great, but they play great defense. And special teams, that's how they win. And their offense is scoring about 20 points per game. Defensively, they give up about 24 points per game. But they have some athletes in there. To me, their offensive side of the ball, their strength is their receiving core. They have a receiver, Bryce Kurtz, another guy, Cam Johnson, some guys that can make some splash plays for them. Defensively, they play pretty solid. So this is, like I said, every week is going to be a challenge for us, because especially offensively, there's not a rhythm there just yet. So for me, it's just all about a fast start. Fast start offensively, defense try to create some turnovers, but that's the way we're just going to have to try and win going forward until the offense really hits their stride. Because at this point in the season, offensively, you're in November, kind of are what you are. You're not going to flip the switch and turn into an explosive offense these last 3 weeks. You just got to find a way to make those splash plays, those scheme-up plays whenever you have the opportunity to. Got some injuries. That's not going to change. So guys just got to figure it out. I don't know what you guys think is going to be the key to this week to get a win versus Northwestern.
Is Braylon, is he still out, or is that still a, it's one of the things we don't know.
Not 100% sure yet. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What about Tanner? Is he gonna be because I seen him dressed up on the sideline on Saturday.
He was dressed, yeah.
So, man, I don't know. We just gotta do the little things right? Like, traditionally, I don't know, since I've been at Wisconsin, Northwestern's always been a tough team that always gave us, some troubles. Right? They pretty much built how we think they are, right? They play good defense. They don't make as many mistakes. So it's really all on us, right? Like, our offense is going to have to go out there and make some plays, right? And then our defense, I see that they got a good receiver. They got some guys that can make plays. They're going to come. They're going to bring their A game. It's one of those situations. They're fighting for bowl eligibility. Like, all that stuff comes into account when you get later on to the season. So I just hope Coach Fickle is just prepping those guys and getting those guys ready, because they're not going to come in Camp Randall on Saturday and roll over, right? They're going to play good football. It's going to be a tight game, right? Like, obviously, last week they gave Iowa a run for their money, which we're all battling for that number one spot as far as on our side. So it's going to be real interesting, man. I just want us to finish off strong. That's all I'm really just trying to wrap my head around, just finishing the year off strong.
I'm going to pose this to y'all, Warren and Biegel, since y'all played on the defensive front. Northwestern, they're giving up 40 sacks, already this year, 40 of them. So the offensive line is not great.
It's not, yeah.
So what do y'all need to see?
Send them dogs. Send them dogs.
This week.
Bro, send 5 a pop. Send 5 a pop. We got to win our one-on-ones. And even if you don't, the defensive line's got to win their one-on-ones. Vince, I know you could probably say the same thing. You got it. This is a game. No offense to Northwestern, this is a stat pad game. When you got a team that has given up 40 sacks this season, bro, it's a stat pad game, bro. Go eat. Like, this is where you step up and you go hunt. Like, this is one of them games.
Whenever I hear Northwestern, I just get kind of ticked off because we went into their place playing on grass that's 6 inches long. It's like a library in that building. And ever since we lost in that place, I hate Northwestern. They got ugly uniforms. They're totally kind of scrappy.
Scrappy, yeah, they scrappy.
And I'm just like, these dudes I don't like. And but I think, to Sojourn's point, these guys stick around in games, and they've played every week pretty close, except for Penn State, if I'm not mistaken. So
they played them close.
They played that game close. That first half,
that first half was tight. They was up. They was winning.
Yeah.
So, these are scrappy dudes, okay, and they're gonna fight. And I think Wisconsin, we got to come prepared. And to the sack point, you have an offensive line that's been giving up sacks. That's an emphasis in the defensive line room all week.
For sure.
This is on us now, boys. This is our game, and I think it puts an emphasis on the D-line to perform. Yeah. So, and the playmakers to do that. So I expect Wisconsin to come through with a tight victory. We're going through transition. Northwestern scrappy. We're going to be in a dogfight.
Yes.
I think also just to know, Northwestern's also playing for bowl eligibility. They got 4 wins. Man. They only need 2 more. What is it? 4 weeks left in the season? 3 weeks left in the season?
3 weeks left.
So, to have come off a big win, then to now come back and play Iowa, play them tough, knowing Iowa just beat us, they're for sure going to come into Camp Randall chomping at the bit to get win number 5 and only have 2 wins left to get bowl eligible. Bowl eligible is probably their goal right now because they're not going to win. They're not going to get to the Big Ten championship game. It is what it is. But bowl
they still alive for it too.
They in it, but they lost to Minnesota. But didn't they lose to Minnesota? Or did they play Minnesota? I thought they lost to Minnesota, which technically I don't think it would work out that way unless something drastic happens.
Northwestern did lose to Minnesota.
So it'd be tough for them to get there. Again, the West is wild right now, but I think their focus is bowl eligibility. Yeah. So that's what they're gonna be coming in playing for.
Sorry. No. My apologies. Northwestern beat Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow! They have Purdue and Illinois left on the start.
Sorry. They beat. They have
2 very winnable.
They have a legit. That's what I'm saying. They're for sure. They're coming in this game on Saturday, and it's
And they got an interim head coach.
Bring your
so
hard
obviously
hat.
he trying to prove that he could be the next head coach. So he gonna have them dudes fired up, man. This is a team. I think they won one football game last year, and they're in the mix to be, in the Big Ten championship. Still at this point in the season, I'm sure they probably never expected to be in this spot right now. So you gotta expect them to come into Camp Randall ready to play, and hopefully our boys are ready to play early on in the football game because you don't want to fall behind. So, but now let's get to the word on campus. So this is a part we just kind of chop it up. We got some fan questions. We'll probably have some questions of our own for you, Mr. Biegel. So my first question, I'll pose it to you. Being a guy from Wisconsin, getting drafted, by the Green Bay Packers, what was that? I mean, and you played at Wisconsin. What was that emotion like for you and your family on draft day?
That was really special, James, because I grew up in Wisconsin, central Wisconsin area. I chose University of Wisconsin. Then you get drafted by the Green Bay Packers, a storied organization, and I was named after Vince Lombardi. So that just shows, just how embedded our family is to the organization, the Packers, and how much pride we had. Then it was really special. I only played there for 1 year, James, and they cut me the next year. And that year was really special for me because I was able to have my family and my friends being able to watch me play football, which was really special. And then, when the Packers cut me, it was really hard for me. It was hard for me to understand the business, but that was the best thing that ever happened to me because it allowed me to go down to Louisiana, which I've never been to Louisiana, and you couldn't talk about a place that's the farthest thing from Wisconsin. It allowed me to play football again. And I was in Green Bay. I was playing the game for, hey, make my family proud. I wasn't playing it for the love anymore.
Yeah.
And I had so much pressure on myself, my time in Green Bay, that I wasn't able to just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And when they cut me and released me, that was the best thing for my career, man. I was able to have fun back in New Orleans, had a great season, and was able to kind of propel me to my later years. But no, the first year in Green Bay was great, man. I still have a lot of love for the Packers, and I'm very thankful that they took a chance on me, and that's just how the business goes sometimes.
I seen on Twitter, Biegel, that you stopped by where you stayed at while you was in Madison, and you took the picture and you talked about just the financial side and about saving money, and obviously that being such a big and important part of college football now with the NILs and then guys transitioning to the NFL. Where does that business mindset kick in? Is that what you graduated college with, or is that just something you learned in the NFL and want to coach guys on?
No, I came from an entrepreneurial family. I grew up on a cranberry marsh, so it's a small business or small family business, and so just kind of having the entrepreneurial mindset has always been in my mind. But then also just being a hustler, I was buying and selling things on Craigslist and running poker, running poker tournaments, at the house. And it was, during my time, I wanted to enjoy my college experience, but it's also I wanted to be financially smart. So moving to that house, paying $500 of rent or $1,500 check, and then making a few little side hustle money and taking advantage of our resources.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of resources hey, free training table in the morning. The red card usually we had. Remember that the noodles.
Yeah, bro.
Noodles and Company. I was always going to Noodles and Company.
Chance, Qdoba.
Yep.
Boy, Qdoba. We got stories for days, bro.
Yeah. And then training table night. And what I didn't mention was your boy was taking the 3 boxes home that night, okay?
Yeah.
Facts.
You gotta be smart with it, man.
Yeah, facts.
And I'm telling you right now, you guys, when you're in college, you can stretch $1, dude.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah. And now I got kids and a wife, dude. Hey, there's money going out like crazy. I can't save nothing now. So I've enjoyed now kind of using my money now to try to invest it. I've enjoyed that aspect of it. But it was just a fun experience in college to be able to try to save and pinch a penny. And, you know, like I said, some people call me a cheap ass. I call myself frugal.
Hey, get out of here.
I don't blame you.
Facts.
Go ahead, Warren.
Oh, no, I saw, I actually don't know the story about this, but saw somebody posted on Twitter. They were asking, how did the Chevy Bad Boys get started?
The Chevy
I actually
Bad
don't know
Boys.
the story to that.
All right. So the Chevy Bad Boys, that was my sophomore year. And Marcus Trotter was the senior linebacker, right? He did his time. You know, he was I think he started as a walk-on. Yeah, he was a walk-on. Eventually became, as his senior year, a starter. And we just Marcus said, "Hey, we're the Chevy Bad Boys. That's our linebacking crew."
Just out of nowhere.
That sounds like him. Man.
Yeah, it sounds like something you would say.
and we were like, "Let's roll with it, man." It was, the Chevy Bad Boys was like me, Derek Landers, both the Trotters, Michael and Marcus, Michael Caputo, Joe Schobert, Regal, I think his name was. Remember the inside linebacker, Regal?
Yeah.
And I'm forgetting a few other names, and I apologize, but it was a great group of guys that we call ourselves the Chevy Bad Boys. And I want to take this story to the next level, Warren. So the Chevy Bad Boys, I don't know if you guys ever know this, but the Chevy Bad Boys, we went on a trip together.
Exclusive.
Yeah. All right. So the viewers are going to love this story. So you guys remember, and the viewers don't know this, but when you got done with the bowl game, you got a one plane ticket, right?
Yep.
You got a plane ticket, and it was usually back home.
Yep.
Do you remember this, you guys? You go in, you fill the paperwork, they got your plane ticket set, you're going home after the bowl game, boom. Well, me and the Chevy Bad Boys, we got together and say, we're going to Vegas, boys.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness.
And I just turned 21. I'm like, let's do it.
Turn up.
I just went to Vegas recently, so I know it.
Yeah. So imagine us, the Chevy Bad Boys. We're buying a one-way ticket, and we're telling them, no, we're not going back to Fort Lauderdale. We're going to Las Vegas.
They probably try to revoke that.
They
bro.
probably I'm not going to no.
And by the way, this is the last year they ever allowed that, because the year after that, it was only hometowns. Back after that, they never allowed Vegas.
Amen.
So we played in the Outback Bowl game in Orlando. We slid on down to Naples to a little booster. I cannot name names. We went to a booster. I cannot name names. We then went back up, flew to Vegas. And the boys, we had a good time in Vegas. And it was all the Chevy Bad Boys.
Can't beat that, man.
Hanging out.
Beat that.
That sounds like a great time. Wish I'd have been in Vegas, man. When I was in
Gotta win that bowl game too, so you know you was gonna be showing some love.
Yep.
Yeah,
And you better believe the Marcus brothers, they were having a good time. So we all had a good time together, man.
So got another fan question for you. Said, who was your favorite Badger growing up, and what is your first remembrance of possibly attending a Badger football game if you did growing up?
Oh man, that's a great question. Man, I grew up kind of watching I didn't grow up watching a ton of college football. I was more of an NFL guy, but I think a guy who I always kind of looked up to was like Edgar James. Remember the defensive end? He ended up got drafted by the Vikings. He was a freaking ball player for the Badgers. I remember loved watching him. And then my first college experience, or my first Badger game, was actually when I was in middle school. I took two of my buddies. We watched it was an Illinois game in October, and we ended up winning. But I remember thinking to myself, like, dude, this would be such a cool place to play, man. I remember thinking that the whole time. And about 6 years later, I ended up committing there. So, it was a cool experience, man, for sure. I love Camp Randall. I'm sure, as you guys know, every time you go back, it's love.
It's all love, man. Nothing like it.
For sure.
Nothing like it, man. But we appreciate you joining the pod with us, man. Like I said, it was good to catch up with you a couple weeks ago, and we'll definitely stay in tune. We family men now, but I said those college memories is nothing like it. It's a brotherhood. That's what we try to stress to those recruits when we got to talk to them. We were there, man. It's it's a family-like atmosphere. Wisconsin brings the right guys in there, not just for on the field, but off the field, and this just goes to show it. But that's a wrap for this week's Camp Randall Platoon podcast. I'm James White with Sojourn, Shelton, Warren Herron. Shout out to Vince Biegel for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe. More exclusive content coming soon.